Good morning, all of you. Students, today we are going to learn new point of advanced spectroscopic method, especially from NMR spectroscopy. That is solvent effect. What is that solvent effect? Look at this. This concept is well known to you. Now I am just focusing the use of solvent in NMR spectroscopy, because when we want to take NMR spectra of any organic compound, it is the procedure that that organic compound must be soluble in reference standard used in NMR spectroscopy. You know that at TYBS level, you might have studied the TMS, which is called as tetramethylsilane. It is used as internal reference standard in NMR spectroscopy. That things you know that one. Now, just like NMR, just like TMS, it is acting as a solvent in NMR spectroscopy. So, what is the impact of that solvent effect on that particular coupling constant, delta value, or one can say chemical shift? That part is involved in this point. So, solvent effect, why deuteriochloroform, chloroform D, shortly it is called as CDCl3, is the solvent used for the vast majority of the NMR measurement of small molecule or any kind of molecule you can see. So deuterated solvent means instead of using CHCl3, CHCl3 is the chloroform, and you know that chloroform contains hydrogen, therefore definitely hydrogen interfere during taking the NMR spectra of organic compound, because the chloroform which having the hydrogen definitely interfere, makes some problem during the NMR spectra of organic compound. So why we have to use the deuterated solvent? It means that instead of CHCl3, why we have to use CDCl3? Reason is well known to you, because CDCl3 do not have any hydrogen. So therefore, it will not interfere in the NMR spectra of any organic compound. So, but in case of this, generally in NMR spectroscopy, hydrogen free solvent is being used, and one of the solvent is deuteriochloroform. Now why we have to use it? Because it having certain properties which are desirable for the solvent in NMR spectroscopy. So first of all, if you use a deuterated solvent in NMR spectroscopy, because it dissolves most of the organic compound, because when you take any organic compound, if it is not dissolved in particular solvent, then that solvent is having no use. Therefore, deuterated solvent is important solvent in which majority of the organic compound get dissolved. This is the first reason or first property. You can say the second property, it is inexpensive. It is not costly. It is easily available and it is inexpensive. This is the second property of this one. Third property is it is easily removed from the sample after the spectrum is acquired. Means when we take the sample of any organic compound, and if you want to separate that organic compound from that deuterated solvent, you can separate it. It means that organic compound and that deuterated solvent one can separate very easily. That sample will not be wasted here. Fourth property of this deuterated solvent is that it is available in high isotopic property. It means that isotope, you know that what is isotope? The compound having same molecular formula but a different structural formula, sorry, different mass number, it's called as isotope. So isotope is nothing but compound having a same atomic number but a different mass number. Same atomic number but a different mass number, that is called as isotope. And whatever isotope of hydrogen is called as deuterium, and it available in high purity. So purity is very important. If purity is not there, definitely we will not get the clear spectra of that organic compound. And fifth one is that the deuterium in the solvent is used for locking and skimming. What do you mean by skimming? Skimming is the process that is carried out to correct any inhomogeneities in the applied magnetic field. So skimming is very important again because it having some obstacle, or you can use for making some correction. The FTNMR spectrum or spectrometer and eliminates proton resonance from the solvent that may not be clear or obscure. It means that not getting the clear the signals from the sample. The chemist often use or give little consideration to the role of solvent in determining the spectrum behind this point. It means that whatever we are having the spectrum of any organic compound, and everybody, just like a chemist, we people are studying the chemistry. Therefore, we should know the properties of deuterium, or even though when you try to take the spectra of any organic compound, especially NMR spectra, that time you have to consider solvent. It is not a matter. Solvent is only required for the solid organic compound. You may have, it is also required for the liquid organic compounds. Means if you want to take the ethanol spectra, NMR spectra, in that case also, we have to mix that ethanol with the reference standard which are used in the NMR spectroscopy. So this is the property of deuterium. Furthermore, when you consider this kind of solvent, sometimes intermolecular force between the solvent and solute affect the NMR spectrum in significant way. What it indicate? When we take the NMR of ethanol, ethanol is solid in this case, and solvent, you can use that CdCl3. When CdCl3 acts as a solvent and methanol acts as a solute, in that case, methanol and solvent, they get dissolved each other. And if they are having some hydrogen bonding, or you can have intermolecular force between the solvent and solid, definitely it can affect the NMR spectra of organic compound. Why we use a chemical shift reference in NMR spectroscopy? What is the reason? Already you know the reason of use of reference in the NMR spectroscopy. So why we use a chemical shift reference in NMR spectroscopy? Reason is that you know that reason also, because first one, the local shielding experience by the nuclei in the sample molecule is a function of both the molecules that having the electronic structure as well as magnetic anisotropy of the medium. Electronic structure, you know the electronic structure, but magnetic anisotropy of medium means what? Anisotropy generally occurs when compound containing carbon-carbon double bond. If the solvent used interact to significantly different degree with the solute, means organic compound, then with the chemical shift reference compound, especially we have here TMS. The result is that the observed chemical shift of the sample molecule of interest will be shifted with respect to the observed chemical shift of the reference compound. The magnitude of the solvent induced shift can sometimes be on the order of several tenths of parts per million ppm in the spectrum. What it indicates? Whatever NMR spectra of the organic compound, when that is mixed with the organic compound, mixed with the reference, that is TMS. In one case, we have the TMS here. Now you know that tetramethylsilane, its delta value is 0. And whatever we are getting the absorption, or you can have chemical shift after the 0. It means that 0.1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up to 10. So that part we have learned, and it is measured in the parts per million. And when we have this kind of things is there, we have improvement in the NMR spectra of that compound. If one use a polar solvent, you know that there are different kind of solvent. One is called as polar solvent and another is called as non-polar solvent. So what do you mean by polar solvent? Those solvent which having the ion separation, you can have positive charge and negative charge. For example, when we have the acetone, another example, acetonitrine or dimethyl sulfoxide or methanol, etc. act as an organic polar solvent. When acetone being used, that is the CH3COCH3, you don't have a positive charge and negative charge separately. But when you consider the carbonyl group, you will find that oxygen is more electronegative than carbon. And therefore, oxygen try to push electron from carbon, and oxygen bearing the delta negative charge and carbon bearing the delta positive charge. So in that case, it is called as polar solvent. What is the effect of this polar solvent? The interaction between the polar solvent and polar solutes are likely to be stronger. Means whatever we are having this polar solvent, and if you take the polar solute, you can have the strong interaction between solute and solvent. And this interaction is very strong than the interaction between the solvent and non-polar TMS. On the other hand, when you use non-polar solvent, may interact more strongly with the TMS than with the more polar solute. What it indicates? Polar solvent and non-polar solvent. When we use polar solvent, definitely we have to take the consideration of polar solute, and it is more effective. So that things we have here, polar solvent and non-polar solvent. If polar solvent is used, how it is give the more impact or stronger impact than the non-polar solvent, and when it is used polar solvent, how it is more interesting than non-polar solvent. So that part is interesting, non-polar solvent and polar solvent. When we take any reference, and in that case we use the Aldrich library of C13 and H1FT NMR spectra. All of the spectra in this library, we are carefully referred to TMS is equal to 0 ppm. Now when anybody asks the question to you, the reference, what kind of reference that you are using, you can say the answer, or you can tell him the answer, the Aldrich library of C13 and H1FT NMR spectra, that reference I am using. Reference is not taken from our David College FTIR instrument. Suppose if you take the pure spectra of ethanol, and if you take the spectra of compound which are extracted from the plant, and if you try to compare that ethanol spectra which are taken from our laboratory, definitely that is not useful. For that purpose, you have to use the Aldrich library of C13 and H1FT NMR spectroscopy. In that case, TMS is always 0 and it is 0 ppm. Looking through the spectra of non-aromatic ester, you know the ester, when it is connected to the organic aromatic ring, then it is called as aromatic ester. But when we take the ester which is not directly attached to the aromatic compound, then it is called as non-aromatic ester, and lactone you can take it. In the Aldrich library, for example, one sees the resonance from the residual chloroform peak, the small amount of CHCl3 remaining in the CdCl3, and it varies from 7.25 to 7.39 ppm. What it indicates, even though we are using this CdCl3 as a solvent, but CdCl3 having some trace amount of small amount of CHCl3, and in that case you are getting the non-aromatic ester and lactone at 7.25 to 7.39. Actually, this is the range of aromatic compound, but in actual practice, it is observed when we take non-aromatic compound of ester. The chemical shift variability is formed from the small change in the local shielding environment of the CHCl3 induced by the solute and vice versa via intermolecular interaction. Now see here student, one concept is there. We have taken CdCl3 and we are getting the spectra, no doubt. But when CdCl3 is not pure, it contains very trace amount of CHCl3. Definitely it induced the solvent effect. It induced the solvent effect. It means that whatever proton present in the CHCl3, very small amount of trace impurity remain in the CdCl3. In that case, the proton of CHCl3 definitely affects the chemical shift of solute or organic compound, and they having intermolecular interaction. They having the intermolecular interaction, and that interaction, if you want to avoid that interaction, you have to use the CdCl3, which is free from CHCl3. When we comparing one experimental data to tabulated spectral data from the literature for chemical shift, whether it is matches or not. So whenever you take any kind of NMR spectra, you can compare this NMR spectra with a reference standard, and that reference standard should be the Aldrich library of C13 and H1EFT NMR spectra. So you can compare both the things. One can use NMR solvent that do not contain a TMS and thus reference their chemical shift to the residual protonated solvent signals, which, as we have just seen, we can just above we have seen that if we do not have a TMS solvent, instead of TMS solvent, if you use CdCl3 solvent, what happen in the CdCl3 solvent? It contain a very small trace amount of CHCl3. So proton is there along with the CdCl3, and definitely it can interact with the solute, and that kind of thing should be avoided, and that is avoided by taking very extra pure CdCl3. One should be sure to reference spectra in the same way as described in the literature. When we making a comparison, it is not at all uncommon to have consistent chemical shift mismatch across the spectrum, with all of the resonance having slightly higher or lower resonant frequency than the literature data. It means that when we consider these kind of things, means if you use the spectra taken other than TMS reference internal standard, in that case, just like a CdCl3, it contains a CHCl3 small trace of amount. During that time, whatever you have taken the spectra of organic compound, that will not be matches with the Aldrich literature. So therefore, we have to take care of that one. In that sense, the solvent effect is observed. Simply changing the concentration of solute can sometimes result in the significant chemical shift changes, especially for environment near a hydrogen bond donor or acceptor or a delta cysteine with significant diamagnetic anisotropy. For example, the hydrogen resonance of acridine in CdO3 shift between 0.1 and 0.5 ppm upfield, depending on the position on the ring as the concentration of the acridine is increased. If the solvent has solvent has strong diamagnetic effect. So it is very interesting, student. So you try to do this very well. When you use any kind of solvent, that should be free from hydrogen. If contain hydrogen, definitely it create a problem to getting the spectra. So therefore, you try to do it very carefully so that you can get the spectra very well. Now see there, this is the structure of acridine. What actually is there? You look at this acridine structure, you do not find this structure very well, but it is a little bit blurred, but you can see this very well. And this is the structure of acridine. When we want to take the spectra of acridine, how many different type of protons are there? I have written here. It is visible. You can see this very well. When we take this kind of compound spectra, how many different type of protons are there? There is some problem. We try to resolve this problem first. It is a power failure. Just a minute. Wait for some time. Okay. आवाज येतोय का? Hello? स्क्रीन दिसते का? केवल स्क्रीन
दिसते गेले आता नाही दिसत.
एक मिनिट इथं माझ्याकडे लाईट फेल्युअर झालं. आता दिसत असेल बघा.
आता दिसते.
दिसते. Okay. Now see here in this compound, that is acridine, different type of protons are there. There are 10 different type of protons. There are 10 different type of protons. Each carbon atom having a different hydrogen. So there are in all total 10 protons are there. Now when you see this compound under this NMR spectroscopy by using CdCl3 as solvent. Now see here, when we use the solvent, what kind of spectra will be observed. Now see, just you look at the left hand side diagram, you can see this one. Left hand side diagram, you can see this left hand side diagram. You can understand you can understand the picture very well, how that proton is going to shifted to the another side. Just look at this. When we have this one, proton number 9, see the structure, proton number 9 is exactly opposite to the nitrogen, exactly opposite to the nitrogen. When we take spectra of this compound acrinide, see here at 9 proton, the proton which are present at the 9 position, look at this one, it is getting the value of that one, 8.3 or something, and this is the actually taken. And when we have taken the concentration, when we have the concentration 1.06, 0.85, like that, by going to changing the concentration of that one, you are getting the hydrogen. Look at this 9H, it is just shifting the away from standard. So initially it was 8.4 value, but when we use different concentration, then look at this, this is showing, and it is at downfield region, and that value is going to increases when 0.033 ppm solution is there. Or you can see here the concentration in moles or molar concentration. Look at this, how that concentration is there. When concentration is going to increases, initially 7.3, so chemical shift initially 7.3, then 7.6, 7.9, 8.2, 8.5, 8.8, and 9.1. So by that way you can increase, by that way you can increase the shift of proton which are at 9 position. Means by changing the concentration of particular solvent and solute, definitely its effect on the chemical shift, and chemical shift is going to increases, and this is taken in CdCl3. If solvent has a strong diamagnetic anisotropy, for example benzene, pyridine, or nitromethane, the interaction between the solute and the anisotropic field of the solvent may give rise to the different or significant chemical shift change. Solvents such as benzene and pyridine will generally cause the observed resonance of the given proton to be shifted to the higher field, small delta value. That part we have seen there. Aromatic solvents such as benzene C6H6 and pyridine C5H5 N are flat. Of course, while acetonitrile CH3CN has a rod-like shape. Look at this one. When one can use the solvent-induced chemical shift changes, the advantage to clarify the complex spectra that feature overlapping resonance, adding just a small amount of 5 to 20% benzene C6H6 or pyridine to a CdCl3 solution of an unknown significant effect on the appearance of the spectrum can be observed. Thus, the use of this technique is very easy way to simplify crowded spectrum. Now see here, one use of this solvent effect is that whatever complex spectra was there, that complex spectra is get converted into simplified spectra. Now this is very most useful use of solvent effect. Means whenever we are getting very complicated spectra, and if it is not separated by the TMS, it can be separated by using solvent induced chemical shift, and that changes the shift position, that is chemical shift position of complex spectra, and you are getting a very simplified spectra of that one. So in recent example, if you look at this one, C6S C6D6 was used to resolve 3 overlapping methyl resonance, which together with other spectroscopic and computational experiment. For for a sample that contain a basic or acidic sensitive functional group. Again, we have this acidic and basic functional group, and definitely they are sensitive towards the things. If you look at this further part, again, the acid can be removed by passing the solvent through the small plug of basic alumina immediately before preparing the NMR solvent or NMR sample. So you can change this solvent. Look at this, how it is there. बंद होईल जरा, लगेच तुम्ही जॉईन व्हायचंय. इथे बघा, इथे तुमच्या लक्षामध्ये येतील. You can see this one. Benzene, when we take the benzene, you are getting this kind of spectra. You are getting this kind of spectra. When we use benzene, 9% benzene, it is the solvent, 9% benzene. It is mixed with C6D6, deuterated benzene. So in first case, complex spectra was obtained when benzene is 0%. When benzene is taken 9%, this complex spectra is going to changes and you got this simplified. So here we got only 3 peaks, but they are complex. But when 9% benzene is used, it getting 4 spectra, different spectra. And when you use 18% spectra, 18% benzene, definitely that gets separated. Here you got say singlet, and you observe here, you can get this one. And look at the coupling constant. It is 7.3 hertz, and here is a 6.5. But when benzene being used, आता एकच मिनिट राहिलाय संपेल, पुन्हा तुम्ही जॉईन व्हा. So benzene 0% is used, it got complicated spectra. When it is 18%, we got very simplified spectra for this complex compound. So this especially this is taken for all this compound which are having a very complicated structure, and spectra is also obtained in the complex manner, and that get simplified. So simplification of spectra is possible by making use of this solvent effect. So solvent effect is interesting one.